Every single supply chain has an upstream and a downstream. And literally, where you sit in that chain completely changes what you manage, who you're dealing with every day, and the specific risks you're going to face. Welcome to the video. Today, we're unpacking exactly what these terms actually mean in practice. To start, I want you to just imagine the supply chain like a massive flowing river. You've got information, money, and physical goods constantly rushing through this system. And to navigate it successfully, well, you have to know which way the current is pulling you.
Have you ever stopped to picture the incredibly complex journey of just one single product? Like from the very first scoop of dirt out of a mine, or a harvest from a field, all the way to a finished package sitting right on your front porch. It's kind of a fascinating, highly orchestrated global ballet. Oh, and hey, real quick, before we map this whole thing out, definitely make sure to subscribe to this channel for more knowledge in supply chain. All right, let's just dive right into it. Okay. So to make sense of this massive journey, supply chain pros basically divide this river into two distinct halves. And this is all based on what we call a focal organization, which is usually just the company actually making the final product. So everything flowing into that focal company from raw material providers, we call that upstream. And everything flowing out of that organization, making its way down to the final consumer, that's downstream. Let's break these two worlds down a bit. Section 1, Upstream, the supply side. Let's explore the first world of our supply chain river, the origins. If you work upstream, your primary focus is totally on sourcing and procurement. You're out there acquiring the raw materials and the components needed for production. Your key stakeholders aren't everyday shoppers, they're your suppliers. You're dealing with Tier 1 suppliers, those are your direct partners, but also Tier 2 and Tier 3 suppliers way farther back in the chain. And actually, managing this deep tier visibility is absolutely crucial because a ton of disruptions originate from some unknown third-tier supplier you didn't even know you had. Your ultimate goal here? To guarantee a reliable, steady flow of high-quality inputs at the best possible total cost. Now, because you're mainly dealing with vendors and manufacturers, upstream managers are heavily supplier-facing. Your core strategy here revolves around supplier relationship management, or SRM. This is the nitty-gritty stuff: contract negotiation, supplier audits, and navigating the incredibly deep complexities of international trade regulations. Your entire job is to build alliances and partnerships that keep the operations running without a hitch. Because, let's face it, if there's an upstream disruption, the factory literally stops. Section 2. Downstream, the demand side. All right, let's shift our focus to the other half of the river, following the product's journey toward the vast ocean of consumers. On this downstream path, your primary focus completely flips. We aren't making things anymore, we're moving finished products. So it's all about distribution and outbound logistics. Your key stakeholders now? Wholesalers, distributors, retail store buyers, and ultimately the end customer. Your whole management goal is laser-focused on delivering high product availability and just superior customer service. You might be managing massive distribution centers or even direct-to-store deliveries to get that product where it needs to be, exactly when the customer expects it. Unlike the upstream side, downstream managers are intensely customer-facing. They live and breathe customer relationship management, or CRM. If you're a downstream pro, you have to be wildly agile. You're reacting to highly unpredictable market demands, real-time sales signals, and those sudden, crazy promotional surges. If you drop the ball here, well, that results in empty shelves, lost revenue, and a seriously damaged brand reputation. No pressure, right? Section 3. Real-world examples, cars, and cookies. To really understand this flow, it helps to ground these concepts into reality. Let's look at the life cycle of a car. Step 1 is the extraction of iron ore and turning it into steel. That right there, a massive upstream activity. Step 2 happens right in the middle at the auto assembly plant, representing internal operations. And finally, Step 3, loading those finished cars onto transport trucks, shipping them to regional dealerships, and a salesperson literally handing the keys to a driver. That is your downstream flow. Now let's switch gears and consider something simple, like a package of chocolate chip cookies. Step 1 is sourcing the massive quantities of flour and sugar from agricultural vendors. Again, totally upstream. Step 2 is managing the heavy baking equipment and running those internal production lines. And Step 3, brokering deals with major grocery chains, warehousing the boxes, and physically stocking the retail shelves for a shopper to buy. Downstream. It's a completely universal flow, whether you're moving tons of heavy steel or just boxes of snacks. Section 4. The unique risks of where you sit. Okay, so your position in this river exposes you to entirely different dangers. While downstream managers are constantly battling the risk of stockouts, rising expectations for lightning fast delivery, and rapidly shifting consumer tastes, upstream managers are haunted by a very specific, unique risk. It's called the bullwhip effect. It's this wild phenomenon where even the tiniest changes in consumer demand at the downstream retail level get distorted and amplified as they travel backward up the supply chain. Just like the crack of a whip, a tiny flick of the wrist by the consumer creates a massive, violent swing for the supplier. Now, what's really fascinating here is how clearly this illustrates the problem. Take a look at the consumer sales trend. The demand looks pretty flat, right? Maybe just a tiny little bump. But watch what happens as you move upstream. The retailer overreacts slightly and places a bigger order to the wholesaler. Then, the wholesaler, just trying to play it safe, places an even bigger order to the manufacturer. By the time we reach the manufacturer's orders to the supplier, that tiny original bump has distorted into a giant, chaotic spike. And this distortion, it leads to excessive inventory costs, rushed manufacturing, and just a whole lot of wasted money. Section 5. Why where you sit changes everything.
Recognizing whether you're dealing with an upstream or downstream challenge completely dictates the exact tools you need to apply. You just can't use a downstream solution for an upstream problem. The daily realities are totally different. Upstream managers spend their days heavily focused on deep-tier visibility, managing global sourcing risks like tariffs, and securing supply. Meanwhile, downstream managers spend their days obsessed with demand forecasting, optimizing distribution networks, and perfecting that tricky last-mile delivery. But here's the real secret sauce. The most successful supply chains absolutely master cross-functional coordination between both sides. Think about it. If an upstream procurement team switches to a cheaper raw material without telling the manufacturing team, and that material jams the machines, they've just caused a massive downstream delay. Everything is connected.
Understanding this flow really is the first step to mastering the incredible complexity of modern supply chains. So, I want to leave you with a quick question to reflect on regarding your own career or the industry you follow. Tell us, do you work upstream, downstream, or both? Let me know your experiences in the comments below. Keep learning, keep optimizing, and I'll catch you in the next video.